Welcome to the Pennywine Podcast with Mike, Jake, Josh, and Tosh. So today we're recording from Jake's house because we are in from Orlando Halloween Horror Nights. So, yeah, thank you for listening, guys. We're drinking. Jake and I are drinking Dos Equis, and Tosh is having an icy cold Dr. Pepper.
She got attacked by a shark at Universal last night.
Yeah, she got that shark attack. But yeah, I mean, we got 4 beautiful movies for you this week. We got the great Carrie, When the Carrie Stole Christmas.
Yep.
We got Carrie. We got
Hellraiser.
Us.
And Killer Klowns.
See, I got my shit together, boys.
And girls.
And girls.
And
we don't
clowns.
No girls listening to our podcast. What are you talking about?
Josh's girlfriend's a girl, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, she doesn't count.
She probably doesn't listen for that one episode.
Yeah.
We were so rude.
But yeah, so thank you for everybody who has subscribed and has been following us so far. Every time I upload, we get like 20 views. So I know there's somebody out there that we don't know that's listening to it, and thank you.
It's not just me watching from 20 different devices.
I swear. I know I watch it one time, so that's one of the views right there. And you don't have to slam that, Tasha.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah. So we're going to argue a lot during this one because when we landed on the plane, we kind of got a small feel for how we all feel about the film. So, yeah. So which one do you guys want to start out with? We're going to be less formal today, obviously, but what do you want to do?
Do you want to do Carrie since we've been inundated today?
Sure.
Yeah. So we watched. Jake and Tasha watched Carrie already, but I hadn't watched it before I landed. So then we watched Carrie this morning, but then we watched the 2013 Carrie as well. So on top of it,
Which was Josh's recommendation.
Yeah. So Josh, give us a summary.
This is Josh. I'm locked in the prayer closet this month, so I couldn't be here, unfortunately.
Yeah, so
Mama says she's going to let me out soon.
this is the second time Josh has went MIA on us, so we're gonna try to resurrect him next month for the October special. Maybe we'll give him some October Fest if he comes to the October special, and so he'll be like beer.
Desperately seeking Josh.
We're casting SOS on Josh.
Carrie, there's this girl who's been bullied her whole life by everyone at school, and her mom's like a religious nut job, and she's very shy and sheltered, and she has her first period and thinks she's bleeding to death, and all the girls make fun of her, and then she also realizes that she has telekinetic abilities, and she's kind of exploring that, and then the popular girl wants to get back at Carrie because she got in trouble for making fun of her. So they're going to pour pig blood on her at the prom. But then this other girl, Sue, feels bad about making fun of Carrie. And she gets her boyfriend, Tommy, to go to the prom with her as a way to kind of make amends and make Carrie feel good. But it all backfires when they dump the blood on her, and Carrie goes apeshit crazy, kills everyone with her mind powers, and then goes home and kills her mother. And then kills herself. The end. Happy ending.
That was a good summary. I like it. So one thing that I wanted to say that was part of my mental notes was so it was the least effective anti-bullying measure to punish everyone and say like, imagine what it would be like to be Carrie.
Well, yeah, it was. Well, I mean, I don't know what else you do in that situation. I guess the gym teacher had to punish the girls, but it seemed like it had the opposite effect. The gym teacher indirectly caused everything.
Yeah.
But again, what else was she supposed to do?
You can't just do nothing about bullying, but you also can't handle it in a way that makes people bullied more. I feel like what she should have done is just had them interact and I don't know, honestly, actually. I'm trying to make that up on the spot, but I haven't really thought of what could she have done better though.
She could make them write maybe an essay stating how would they feel. Don't cut me off. I'm just saying they could have had an essay stating how that would make them feel, and
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that something like that would have made them potentially think about what they did, whereas just making them run laps just pissed them off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that.
It
yeah.
would just piss me off the whole time I was typing. I'd be like, ooh.
Well, yeah, it would still be the most passive aggressive fake apology, but I mean, maybe it would have made them
Yeah.
think differently.
What if they all had
Realize-
to read their apology essay to Carrie while she sits there?
That would have been the most awkward movie.
Yeah. It's like, she pulls him in and it's like 2 desks in the room. And Carrie's sitting on the other desk.
The climax of the movie would have been not nearly as bloody.
True.
It would have just been a really awkward movie.
But well, leading up to, I think we kind of talked about it when we were watching it earlier, but to me it seemed, the bullying of Carrie seemed very over the top in an unrealistic way. Like, I think I said that I would be more angry if somebody came up to me and rubbed their bloody hands all over me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like the girls in that case were warranted to be like, get off of me,
Yeah.
type of thing.
But then they weren't warranted to take it to another level and then like throw the tampons at her and say like, plug it up or whatever they say.
Yeah, and that to me did feel a little over the top. Maybe I just was not bullied as a child, but I don't think that level of bullying would happen.
No, because, I mean, I was kind of bullied, but it was never to that extreme. The most they ever did was, like, made rumors, or, you know, it's like, oh, we're going to fight you type deal, but never happened. Nothing to the extreme.
But I guess it kind of would be like the mob mentality of it. Like, once
Yeah.
the one girl starts doing it, then everyone else joins in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
'Cause I guess,
It only takes one a-hole.
yeah. Because I think the Sue girl, that's kind of her arc throughout the movie, is in the shower, she kind of realizes they went too far.
Yeah.
So, maybe she's supposed to represent, like, the audience's sentiments. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
And then, in that same vein, we were talking about this too earlier, but it's like in the end when she gets the blood poured on her from the bucket, and then they play the video. Oh yeah, that's just in the remake. They don't play a video. Yeah,
they,
had the
they can't play a
smartphones.
video from their smartphone in the 70s version.
Yeah, sorry. But, like, you know, they pour the bucket on her and do that. And to me, I feel like in real life that people would be really shocked. And I don't think that it would be just like a laughter thing. Even, like, high schoolers, they'd just be like, what the hell? That's disgusting. Like, I don't know if that's funny.
Well, I could maybe see the pig's blood, sort of, but I think I said this earlier as well. It's Tommy gets knocked out by the bucket, and he's one of the more popular kids. Everyone likes Tommy. So I don't feel like it's believable that everyone would just laugh at this kid being knocked unconscious, a kid that they all like and are friends with. Somebody would be like, oh no, he's hurt, let's go help him.
Yeah, just like imagine, if you're listening, just imagine like the most popular kid from your class, like whatever that person was, and then that person like gets hit with a bucket, is on the ground. I know it's funny describing it, but like they're on the ground like dead, and then you're like, "Huh?" Like,
Well,
no, it doesn't
not
make
officially dead yet, just
Yeah.
knocked out.
That's
But
the remake.
sense. Yeah. So in the remake, he's dead from the bucket.
The only thing I could see them laughing is if they're in on the prank too. Then they might think it's funny, but not the whole school.
Yeah. I feel like if the whole school was in on the prank, though, somebody would have ruined it. Because the wrong ears would have heard about the prank, and then they're like, "Gym
Yeah.
teacher, help."
But a lot of the girls were in on it. So.
Well, I think I'm confusing the original with the remake a little bit at this point, but
'Cause we
it seems
just
like
watched
there
it.
were, like, when they were kind of stuffing the ballot box, it seemed like some of the people that were in charge of the ballots were in on it as well, or
They were. That's
Yeah.
how it was in both of them. Like, because Chris told Tina and Tina told the rest of the girls because
Yeah.
they were all friends.
yeah, that's right, I remember now.
Yep. And nobody spilled the beans. You know, honestly, that's respectable though.
That shows a real hatred of Carrie.
Yeah. It's like...
For high schoolers not to gossip.
Yeah, and for, like, them to keep the secret... I feel like at high schoolers, like, it will require a lot of compliance from a group, and it's very impressive. It's not unrealistic, I don't think, but it's impressive that the group has that sort of, like, discipline within the group.
One thing that bothers me is, like, how they didn't notice the rope connected to the, you know, the way
bucket.
that, to the bucket, because the way they had it pinned, it was so tacky, and you could easily see it.
Yeah.
It was not unnoticeable at all.
And it was like that in the original and the remake.
Mhm.
And for some reason, when I read the book, I imagined like a bigger bucket than I saw in the movie, or like a barrel almost. Like I would believe if he died, if it was like an oil barrel, like that came down and like
That would have killed Tommy. Like that would have crushed him like a pancake.
But their main
100-pound barrel.
the main focus wasn't Tommy. They wasn't trying to hit him with the bucket, though. They just wanted enough blood to cover Carrie.
Yeah.
So that's
And-
probably why.
How did she get that covered from like a bucket though, that size? Because that was a lot of blood that was all over her.
Well, I've been reading the book, and I swear in the book they talk about filling up 2 buckets. But I think they only showed the
It's
one
been a while
bucket.
since I read the book, but I have read it.
When they did cut the pig, it was 2 buckets, but they've only put the 1 bucket on the ledge to dump on her.
Yeah, I think they figured there had to be some spillage in the back of the
So this way they have
the
extra.
car when they
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was something else. One of my favorite parts about the movie, from a campy perspective, was John Travolta as Billy
Yeah.
Nolan, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just thought he played it well, but it was just so ridiculous and over the top. Just how the scene when they're driving, him and Chris are driving in the car, and then he sees his buddies across in the other lane, and they throw him a beer, and he's like drinking it. It's going all over his face, and it's just that part made me laugh so hard.
As his girlfriend, I'll be like, you know, if you're gonna be that disgusting, I don't think I would want to be with you, type deal. And then he throws beer at her, and you know.
And he slaps her like he's a dick, but
Yeah.
and
Well,
then
you gotta beat your girlfriend. Don't look at me like that, Tosh. I'll beat you.
Mike is not being sarcastic. You should call for help right now.
Tosh is like, help.
No, and then I one of my other favorite part was when Billy and Chris were parked in the car later, and she starts like sucking his finger and like kissing him, and then she throws him away, and then it's like, what's wrong with you? And then she kisses him again, and she throws him away again, and he's like, you really are crazy. And then she she starts giving him a blowjob, but she's somehow very clearly still able to say his name, and then say we should get Carrie White or something like that.
I hate Carrie White or
Or
something.
yeah, that took me out of it because I was like,
She would have this gargle noise. while
they
she,
didn't
like,
have an
sucked on his
engineer figuring out the logistics of that one.
neck. Yeah, they need more Imagineers for that movie.
Yeah, if Disney had produced the blowjob scene, it would have been
Really?
really good storytelling.
She'd be singing, but with like the words like impacted by the fact she's sucking his dick. Tosh is just shaking her head like, help.
That part's getting cut.
Oh,
It's gonna
No,
have
it's
to
not.
get cut because copyright infringement. I'd say 1 bar of Let It Go.
No, it's staying in. Just like the joke you guys wish I edited out that I won't reference because somebody will go find it. But yeah, do you guys let me? I don't have anything else to say about Carrie.
We haven't really talked about her mom. Like, you know, how crazy she was.
Yeah, her mom was crazy, but I feel like I don't have anything profound to say about that. Just like she seemed like I don't know where her beliefs came from, so it makes it really difficult to comment about it.
Yeah, I thought the actor playing Carrie's mom was, other than Sissy Spacek, she was probably the best in the movie.
Yeah.
She played
She was very believable.
It was very believable that she was that gung-ho about her faith that she would kill her own daughter because she thought she thought her daughter was the devil or possessed by the devil or something.
She always thought Carrie was ever since her and her husband had sex that one night when he was drinking whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently she said that he raped her.
Did she have like?
Do you guys think he raped her?
No.
Well, she said like he took me but I think she said she liked it, which
she did say she liked it.
is not say. I mean,
that's not.
that's not saying that that's not rape, but.
If you like it, that means it's okay.
But she didn't force it to stop. But either way, she said that they laid sinlessly. So.
Even though they were married, she still thought it was a sin.
Mm-hmm.
Because she had things that she made up.
Yep.
Like she had made up to extendy on the Bible and stuff.
Like women getting their periods is a sin.
Yeah.
That's why she didn't tell Carrie about it.
And I think I'm getting it all confused with the book, the original and the remake at this point, but in one of those, Mama tells her it's a sin to shower in public, but Carrie does it anyway. Or like
Remake.
shower in the school shower with everyone else.
In the remake, she's like, everybody's got to shower. It's the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to shower. Everybody showers.
But I did think it was a slow build movie. I did kind of get a little bored in the middle, and I thought in the original, which is the one we're mainly talking about, they didn't spend very much time with Carrie. I thought they spent too much time on like Chris and Billy and Sue. I feel like they didn't really explore her telekinetic abilities very much. It's just kind of she broke the mirror in her bedroom, and then like the ashtray in the principal's office, and like there was no real escalation to it. Just all of a sudden she could cause the apocalypse in the school with her mind.
I think they could have cut the scene where she's in the library reading about the telekinesis. I mean...
Yeah.
There were a lot of innocent bystanders that die as a result of Carrie, because I don't know if everyone bullies Carrie.
A majority, though, not every. At least the senior class.
Yeah, she's basically a school shooter. Like, it's the same thing.
She caused a massacre at her school and killed basically all of her classmates. Yeah.
Before it was cool. In the 70s, before it was cool. What? God damn it.
Well, I guess if we're talking about innocent, the gym teacher, Miss Disjordan, or whatever, however you pronounce.
Miss Collins.
Okay. However you pronounce the name. She, in the movie, the original movie, I thought they didn't really, I don't know where I'm going with this anymore.
So I felt like the whole like Carrie revenge thing at the end was more like almost like she's a school shooter, which is, it's one of those things where you watch it and it's like it's almost a commentary on today's times, but it's hard to feel bad for someone who does something like that in the end. For me, anyways, it's like, you can get bullied. Like I in middle school I got bullied some too, but it's like you can't just do that. Like you can't just like slaughter people. And I know people watch it and they're like, "Oh, these kids deserve to die," and I just feel like that about a few of them.
Right,
I feel like that about a select few, and she just kills everyone.
But I guess Carrie's justification or whatever is. And it might all be in her mind. They don't really make it clear, because when she looks out after the blood, she sees everyone laughing. Like, literally everyone. The teachers.
The principal.
Yeah.
Everyone.
All the kids. So it's like, I guess in her mind, that's the justification. But again, it's like, is that just in her mind? And maybe everyone really was shocked. But I guess they don't really hint at that. But,
it didn't help before she left that her mom's like, everybody's gonna laugh at you, and then that happened.
I think it's a relevant movie in today's times. Like, I think it'd be a good choice for like an English teacher in like a 6th grade class, or between 6th and 9th grade level, to talk about, because it's like it's something that we talk about all the time nowadays with the, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, until you brought up that it was a school shooting, or like type of event, because it is a massacre in a school.
Right.
I didn't see it that way, because it is. I feel like the way Stephen King wrote it and the way the movie does it, we are supposed to feel that Carrie was justified in doing it, which.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, is a really unhealthy, not okay thing to do.
Yeah, and I get that it's a fictional story, it's a movie, but at the same time, like, it's hard to view it that way. I guess it was written in the 70s, so it wasn't like,
School shootings were not as prevalent, I don't think, as they are now.
Yeah, I mean, because, Columbine hadn't happened yet. And
yeah.
Anyways, I don't want to get too far in that rabbit hole, because, a podcast is an escape, so I don't want to...
Yeah, we're getting real serious, but
Is there any more key points y'all want to cover?
Well, I just thought the ending scene with when Carrie went home, and Mama like stabbed her. I thought the shots where it was like looking up at Mama coming down the stairs with the knife. I thought the actress did a great job, and that's probably, other than the blood kind of falling on Carrie, that's probably one of the more iconic shots that kind of you remember when you think about Carrie. So I thought that whole kind of confrontation at the end was done pretty well.
Is Carrie actually part of, the devil?
No.
Because you reminded me of that with the shot with the mom, but, was she right? Because, where's she getting telekinetic powers from?
I think in the book they mentioned that, because they do a lot of flashback type things in the book, I think they mention Carrie's mom talked about how her mom had some type of telekinetic something or other as well, so it might be genetically passed to Carrie. But yeah, I'm not done with the book yet. I'm almost done, but I don't think they really give a justification or a reason why Carrie has the powers.
It's just part of Stephen King's story. It's just I don't need to explain this. I was just wondering if it was explained.
I don't think
I mean, I remember reading the book, but I don't remember there being any telekinetic explanation. But it makes me feel like when I'm watching it that her mom could be right, because she does do all of those horrible things.
It doesn't really mean
and so,
that she's
honestly, the world would probably be... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
It doesn't really mean that she's the devil. She could just be a bad person.
Yeah. We're really shitting on Carrie, but the world would have been a better place if she was never born, because she wouldn't have killed everyone.
True. Which, that's her mother's fault, and I mean, maybe that's why she... I assume that's why she treats Carrie so badly and just kind of makes her pray all the time and feel bad about herself, because her mom feels bad about herself for letting Carrie be born at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because she didn't want her.
She didn't want her, and she almost caused, Carrie was old enough to make her own decisions, but her mom definitely played a part in what ended up happening by making her life. At least, she could have had an escape from school when she got home. If she had, a loving, regular household, then it would have been, bullying as usual. And she probably would have understood that, that was her period and stuff, and it would have prevented everything. So her mom had a hand in it, but I wouldn't say that, she just took her free will away and she forced her to do it.
Well, yeah, I don't know if they did this in the 70s. I assume they did, but it's kind of also the school's fault that Carrie didn't know that she was going to have a period, because don't they teach sex ed in, middle school or, early high school? So that you're supposed... If your parents don't teach that to you. But, again, maybe that's something they introduced later on after this came out. I don't really know.
I didn't have it till 9th grade, but she was definitely in high school, which is 9th grade. And she was pretty late when she got her first one, as Tasha was saying anyway.
Yeah, she was late, but they don't really teach about your period in health class, honestly. They just teach about sex.
They just expect everyone to know.
Yeah.
Or at least in our health class. I don't remember learning about
I didn't
it.
learn it in my school at all, but my mom told me.
Well, in mine, they separated all the boys and the girls, and each one got a separate talk. And fun story, the guy that gave me my talk turned out to be a pedophile for girls.
Oh.
Not really a fun story, but it's
that sucks.
Yeah, it was not great.
Yeah, we had a pedo counselor, so yeah, that was a big.
He never did anything with any children. He was. I don't know why I'm talking about this. We can cut this out.
Ours was videos, but yeah. Anyway, every high school apparently in West Virginia. So watch out
Some-
if you're out there and you live in West Virginia.
Anyways, y'all want to go ahead and get on with the
Hide your
rankings?
kids, hide your wife. Yeah. So ratings. I'll do this one first, I guess.
Yeah, go
Since
ahead.
this is Josh's recommendation. I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10. I love the story of Carrie. I do get some sort of, I don't know, when I see her turn on her students or her fellow students in the end, I do get this feeling of justice when I watch it. But then when I think about it really hard, I'm like, this is a bit much for of a retaliation, which we've already talked about. So I don't want to talk in circles, but that's why it doesn't get a higher one. I mean, a 7 is a really high rating for me because a 5 is average. Like, a 5 should be average for everyone because it's like, otherwise, why have it out of 10 if the lowest you're going to give is like a 6? But, anyways, 7 out of 10.
I'm going to give it also a 7. It's one of them that's one of my favorites, and it sticks out the most. If I think of Stephen King, it's one of the ones that just comes to my mind, and I kind of feel for Carrie because, I mean, I didn't get bullied like she did, but, you know, I can understand some of it, where she's coming from.
Did they bully you for your size?
Yes.
Yeah. Tosh is like 4'11" for the listeners. So,
Yeah, I'm small and petite, so. Jake?
80 pounds.
Ow. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 because well, it is a thought-provoking movie, and yeah, I feel bad for Carrie, but as I said earlier, I thought the way the bullying was written was not really believable for me personally. I thought it was very over the top, but that also kind of led to the justification that Carrie would literally lose her mind and kill everyone. So it kind of makes sense the farther the story. It just felt a little out there. And while I think it's a good movie, it's not something I'm going to watch all the time. It's not my favorite Stephen King story. It's, I do wish they would have explored the telekinetic abilities a little bit more, but I think since this was his first book, he was just kind of he was just figuring out his style. If this had been written later in his career, Carrie would have been like a demon or something, and it would have really gone in depth about it. So,
She's the Avatar.
so yeah, it's 6 out of 10. It's an above average movie, but it's not my favorite Stephen King by any
Okay.
means.
Okay. Would you give it a 6?
6,
Yes.
6 out of
Okay,
10.
same as me. Okay. And Tasha gave it?
7 with both
7.
7s.
Okay.
So, where y'all want to go next? Y'all want to do Killer?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do KKK.
We're getting messages from Beyond the Grave. Oh, Josh has sent in his ratings and thoughts on each movie.
I'm not. We're not.
We're not reading it? Okay, real quick. Josh gave Carrie a 7 out of 10.
What are his thoughts?
He can definitely see why this movie is a classic. He liked the bloody fire scene at the climax where shit goes down, as he says. The ending scene where the house burns up with Carrie and her mother was well done. I think kind of similar to what we said about the mother being crazy. He didn't realize that over half the girls were not necessarily involved in the pig's blood prank, which I kind of did as well the first time I watched it. I didn't realize that Tommy and Sue weren't in on it.
See, yeah, I watched it many times, so I think that's why I was able to get that.
Yeah.
Josh and I are like the same person. He said he also found John Travolta's like casual abuse funny.
Okay.
Or just like him as a character to be funny. Like kind of comic relief. So yeah.
Alright, so.
Josh from Beyond the Grave.
What do you give it out of 10?
7.
7. Okay.
Alright, so Killer Klowns.
Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
That was Tasha's pick.
Yes, I'm trying to think of like a way I can say it because, you know, basically you got these killer clowns come from outer space to Earth. And would you say that they're trying to take over in a sense?
I don't know what their motive is.
I mean, they don't really have a motive. I mean, and
I don't think they want to take over. They just want to like
turn people,
get everybody in the cotton candy
turn
spaceship.
people into cotton
But
candy.
they don't say what they use the cotton candy cocoons for. Maybe it's like fuel for the ship or something.
The
Yeah,
cocoons.
Or
and
food.
Yeah, or food.
And then you've got these brothers and the sheriff and this couple trying to stop the clowns, and they do funny pranks throughout the movie. But, I mean, It's just a fun movie to watch. There's not much you can really say on
Yeah, I've always thought that Killer Klowns was a really funny movie. I love it. It's one of my favorite little campy movies to put on in the background. I really like the montage where they're like knocking on doors and people are answering them and they like blast them and stuff.
Yeah,
Like, it's
Yes.
amazing, and the music is really good
Yeah.
too.
Agreed. That the intro song is just it's the most fun thing. I think it was the Dickies, the band that did it, but it's just such a fun song. I love every time I hear it. But,
it. Yeah, one part that kind of made me sad when one of the biker men broke the Shorty's tricycle.
oh, are you gonna knock my block off,
Yes.
guys?
Yeah.
Because I kind of felt
We
bad
can
for
do
Shorty
Knock My
because
Block.
he was kind of sad. And then he brings out these boxing gloves. He's like, go knock my block off.
Such a weird thing to say.
But it's the time frame, though.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but
But
you know what I mean.
it's almost like it was set in the 80s, but it was almost like a 50s slang. Like, are you gonna knock my block off? It was.
But he was also a biker, too, so
Yeah.
to be honest.
I just think it'd be weird. Like, okay, I don't mean the knock your block off thing. I just think it'd be weird to bully someone and then say, "What are you gonna do? Punch me in the face? Punch me in the face," or something like that afterwards.
And it was
It's just
also
weird.
It's a little inconsistent. Like, obviously the clowns are from another planet, so they don't speak English. But Shorty very clearly says, "Put up your dukes" when he's
Yeah.
about to fight him. So it's like he knows like English slang, but he doesn't speak English.
And then the one scene where they're trying to get the little girl out was kind of creepy.
Oh, in like the restaurant
The
where he's trying to
restaurant.
lure her out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only part or the only scene in the movie where I kind of felt a little bit of dread, like, oh, this girl's about to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
So I'm
fun.
kind of glad that the mom saw that she was trying to leave.
I like how she just looks out the window and sees that, and she's like, "Okay, I'm coming."
Yeah, like these are not. If you haven't seen the movie, these are not like normal looking clowns. They look like aliens that are clowns. So and the one that was trying to lure her out was like, I think it was the big
Fat one.
the fatso or whatever his name is. So it's like not a human looking clown, and she's just like, okay, let's go.
And even if it was, like, why would you sneak away from your family to an adult that's just like, "Come here"?
Well, it's a clown. Children trust clowns or something, but
I don't know about that.
I've
Clowns
nev-
are supposed to be funny, and I guess they think they're harmless.
yeah.
But then take Pennywise, who is a clown and is not harmless at all.
I feel bad for people who want to be a legitimate clown because at this point it's just like they're just a horror trope and they're not. I wouldn't consider like a clown a child friendly thing anymore.
No, it's kind of like clowns in general. I think are pretty antiquated. Like they've
Yeah.
had clowns for hundreds of years, but when I think of like somebody hiring a clown for a birthday party, that's like something that would happen in the 50s or 60s. That's not
Yeah,
something
That's not
that would
today.
definitely not today.
yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure there are people that do it, but like
Yeah.
you said, it's more. You don't think of clowns as like coming to kids' birthdays. You think of Pennywise and horror clowns.
Right.
Yeah.
They've just been distorted to that.
Which, I mean, I don't know the history of horror clown movies, but since this came out in the 80s, this probably had to be one of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't.
One
I
of, yeah.
mean, I can't think of too many clown horror movies besides this one and
Yeah.
It, obviously.
Yeah, this one certainly came out before the original It
Yeah, because It
miniseries.
came out in like 90 something.
I think, yeah. Well, I think it came out. The movie came out after the It book because that
Well,
was like
obviously.
the mid '80s. But so maybe It was like one of the first evil clown
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
We don't have information. We just have
Speculation.
open questions.
Yeah.
See.
Well, we like to give people the chance in the comments to be like, actually.
Yeah, we like to encourage listeners to be irate about our lack of knowledge and to let us know the truth.
Yeah. To let us know how wrong we are about The Exorcist.
But overall, I love this movie. Every time I watch it, I enjoy it more and more. The plot is very. There's not much plot. It's more about like the. Okay. It's more about like the skits and like Mike said, the clowns like with the pizza box knocking on the door, and then I think Shorty jumps out and shoots them, and like a bunch of stuff like that. That's where the fun and the heart of the movie is. but the main cast, I don't think, or the main guy and the cop and the girl are not very good actors, and
Yeah.
they don't. The plot is pretty non-existent, but it's such a fun movie that you can look past that.
I mean, you can keep it playing, go to the bathroom, come back, and you won't
Right.
have to be like, what's going on? Because it's
Yeah.
nothing you really have to follow.
It's like, what do teenagers hate? The police. And so they make the movie for teenagers, but then they make the police like total dicks.
Well,
Both of them.
They cast the guy from Animal House to play Mooney, and I think he pretty much just plays the character he played in Animal House
Yeah.
as a cop.
Yeah.
Because like
The cops are mean in that movie.
one
Both
of
of them.
Yeah, because the blonde cop he was in that weird love triangle with the girl.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of a dick to the main character guy.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, you lied about the clowns? You're under arrest.
yeah, and then like for Mooney, he was just so over the top. I loved him as a character. I think they just wanted him. They just wanted to pie in the face the guy from Animal House. That's why they cast him. But like the first shot.
jail.
You're in Mooney's jail now.
I'd read you your rights, but you don't have no rights in my jail.
Like the first thing, Mooney is like the most angry little man. Because the first scene, he's just driving down the road and there's a college kid walking across the street and he just looks at him and goes, "Son of a bitch." I thought Mooney was a really, out of the human characters, he was the most enjoyable for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or why did you recommend this one, Tasha?
Main reason, because it's a haunted house at Halloween Horror Nights, is actually really the main reason why.
Yeah, I mean, we did the house. Do you want to talk about it?
Well, we can save that to the end.
Okay. So, guys, we're here for Halloween Horror Nights, obviously. We said that at the beginning, but we'll talk about the houses at the end. Yeah.
This way we can go ahead and talk about the movies and...
And I might even upload that separately, too.
Yeah, we'll see how engaging the conversation is, how many buzzwords we use.
If it's not at the end of this, then it'll be a separate video.
Anything else for you guys?
Well,
Or what Josh has to say?
yeah, I don't think I have anything else.
It's a fun movie. I mean, but it's just not a lot of commentary to do for it.
Yeah. Well, let me look through my notes real quick.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, okay. So the only the only time like I'm thinking about the story when I watch a movie like that is when there's any kind of inconsistencies. But I didn't really feel like that one had any. Like I just felt like there was not enough story for there to be an inconsistency in the story. So it's just a fun movie.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I didn't like, I kind of mentioned earlier, was the love triangle between the main guy, the cop, and the girl. That really felt unnecessary, and I don't think it added anything to the plot.
Kind of like when we watched Zombievers, and the whole thing, the whole love thing, triangle thing brought it down to.
Well,
It's like that's the slayer of all those movies. It's like Hollywood has to force a love thing into every movie, no matter what. There has to be a love scene.
True.
Stupid.
Well, we can go into ratings,
Okay.
and then I'll read Josh's comments because I think they're going to differ. His is going to differ a lot from ours.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and start that. I'm going to give it a 7, mainly because of the enjoyment. Yes, the acting was bad and all that, but I liked the sets and just having fun watching it.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10. I really like Killer Klowns from Outer Space, and I just like watching it, and I think it's a good movie for what it's trying to be, which is obviously Killer Klowns from Outer Space. What do you expect?
Yeah, it's not going to be a serious movie just based on the title.
It's like a box of cereal where you open it and you get exactly what you expect.
A box of popcorn you open and it's got... Never mind. I'll also give it an 8 out of 10. It's I think I did watch it before it was a scare zone at Halloween Horror Nights last year, but like I said earlier, it's one of those movies I didn't really like it the first time, but the more I watch it, the more I appreciate it, and I really enjoy this movie, and I think it's gonna go into my rotation. I'm gonna watch it at least once a year around Halloween, just from here on out, because it's enjoyable movie.
Was that the first time you'd seen it for this podcast, or had you seen it before?
No, I think I watched it once on Hulu before Horror Nights, just because I thought the title kind of pulled me in. I was like, this sounds like a fun movie. And then I've watched it a couple times since Horror Nights, and I like it more and more every time I watch it.
Yeah, because the first time we watched the original It first, and then it's like, oh, well, let's find another clown movie, and when we found this one, it's like, well, let's give this one a try.
I think we watched it because we were hyped for that It that came out in 2017.
Maybe, yeah.
We were like looking for clown content.
This wasn't a movie you had seen when you were a kid, Tasha. This was
No.
relatively new.
This was relatively new.
Same for me.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those movies that has just recently elevated to cult status. It's not.
Mhm.
It was forgotten for a long time.
Agreed.
Maybe it's because Netflix picked it up, and certain people were like, "What is this? Killer clowns from outer space?"
It's got the title is so perfect. It's like I wanna. That sounds so ridiculous. I wanna watch that.
And then you go in, and what you expect is exactly what you get. You see the cover and the title, and it's just what the doctor ordered.
So yeah, director's intent is a 10 out of 10 for this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
So what does old Josh says?
Well, I think we all rated it pretty high. Josh rated it at a 4 out of 10.
Oh.
Josh is the odd man out on this one. He says it was fun and extremely corny, and he's on the other side. He thought the corniness was a little too much for this movie. I think he might have been expecting more horror than kind of the comedy aspect of it.
Killer clowns from outer space. He was expecting. Okay.
He's also spelling clowns with a C, which I have a problem with.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. He says he likes the creative approaches to the clown's powers and abilities. Like the balloon dog. The balloon dog on the
forgot
the
about
leash.
the balloon dog.
That was a funny little joke throughout.
Yeah.
The popcorn guns, and he says the scariest jump scare moment for him was the popcorn puppet monsters popping out of the toilet. I guess after the main girl's taking a shower.
Yeah.
He also loved Mooney, and he says he's pretty sure the ex-boyfriend / police officer swooped back in and got the girl right in front of the main boyfriend. Or maybe the main boyfriend was down for an open relationship. That's a nice retcon you got there, Josh. I could see that. So, yeah, I think he didn't. I don't think he appreciated the humor and the fun aspect as much as we did, but it seems like he enjoyed it sort of for the same reasons as us.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so you want to go
He's
ahead?
not here to defend himself, so I'm gonna just say, Josh, you're an asshole.
So you want to go ahead and do Hellraiser now?
Sure.
Unless there's anything else.
Hellraiser.
That was Jake's.
Yeah, Hellraiser was my pick because it was. Pinhead has been he's one of those iconic horror villains that's always kind of. He's not as high as Leatherface, Jason, and Freddy, but he's like the B team of the iconic slashers, and it was just a movie I had never seen, so I recommended it. I took a shot in the dark, and I think it actually paid off for me this time.
Finally.
Yes.
It's the only good one.
I genuinely enjoyed this movie. Spoiler for the ending of it, but rough plot synopsis. There's this guy that's married to, or wait. I don't remember the plot. Apparently, there's
That's
this.
fair.
Yeah, there's a douchey guy that buys like a cube from from some Chinese guy, and then he uses it to like have S&M powers and like feel like pain for sexual release or something.
Yeah.
And then he's like sucked up into the Hellraiser world, and then it cuts to the family. There's a guy and his second wife, and then the daughter of the dad.
Wait, second wife.
Well,
Yes.
or maybe it's not as.
It is his second wife because Christy's mom was deceased.
Yeah, and then basically I don't remember this plot of the movie. The plot of this movie apparently.
Frank was the guy that came back.
Yeah. So the wife is had an affair with Frank in the past.
Yeah.
And was in love with the way that she made him feel sexually, and she was into that. But then she was with his brother, which this sounds like a soap opera plot, but it's actually executed well. But I'll finish. So she's in love with the brother, but then she's married to her husband. The brother's name is Frank, and her husband's name is what, Tasha?
I do not
Okay.
I don't remember.
the
He's not
name.
important.
Yeah. We're bad with names, but she's in love with her husband. Kinda, it seems like.
But she seems unfulfilled, like
she-
sexually at least.
Yeah. So like, she feels like he's too boring. I think.
She seems annoyed with him all the time, and
Yeah, she just wants him to like choke her or whatever. I guess.
And then I forget how the cube comes into their lives.
I don't remember how the cube comes into their lives, but her husband scratches his hand on the nail,
That's
and
what
the
it is.
blood
She-
drips on the floor.
And then
Yeah.
that's what resurrects Frank.
Frank.
Yeah, and then the cube doesn't come back until the blood happens, and then Frank gets resurrected. He brings the cube with him into the house when he gets partially resurrected from the blood.
And plot-wise, Frank kind of comes back as like a pile of goo, and then the wife who was having the affair with him when he was alive, she has to kill people and like feed them to Frank to make him have a full body again.
Yeah.
And she does that throughout the movie, and eventually she sacrifices her current husband, and Frank like puts on the skin, and then the daughter kind of comes back and figures out what's going on, and she accidentally opens the cube, and Pinhead and all of the Cenobites come out and try to take her, but she says, no, you can have Frank if you let me like bring him to you, which she eventually does, and then she lives happily ever after, sort of. I guess that's the plot. Sort
Yeah,
of,
that's pretty
roughly.
much the plot.
That's
It's
roughly.
kind of got like a Texas Chainsaw feel with the whole skin
Yeah.
type deal.
Yeah.
It was not what I was expecting at all.
Me neither. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. I got a Pandora's box I'm going to open, but go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I thought Pinhead was just gonna be another one of like the slasher type movies, because this came out in I think the like '87, so it was like the mid '80s, so it was the height of the slasher craze, and it's like this is not that at all. It's like it's an extremely sexualized movie. Like,
Yeah, I didn't realize.
and it's like an S&M type sex. Like
Mhm.
it's very like body horror and very like bondage, and just the design of the Cenobites is like they're all in like black leather, and they have like chains everywhere, and the one Cenobite that had like the flayed open neck that was held open with like the metal rings, I thought that was a cool design, but
Yeah.
it was like a weirdly sexual movie, and it was not what I was expecting at all, but it was very enjoyable.
Yeah, so the box was supposed to be Pandora's box, according to Tasha. And then the impression I had from this movie was completely from when I saw Cabin in the Woods, and they had the knockoff sort of Hellraiser character in that movie, and so I thought that it was going to kind of be like that. And in my mind, I was picturing more of a like Freddy, Jason, like monster comes for you type of thing.
Right.
But it was completely different. But what's interesting is the director, when he made this movie, some of the inspiration for it, he went to some S&M bars or clubs, rather, swingers type of areas in a city, and he just thought it was fantastic that you could go to something like that in a city and sort of do accepted things like that. So then, like he decided to use that concept. But what was interesting is he was a writer, so he wrote novels, and beforehand, 2 of his novels had been adapted into films, and he was unhappy with both of them, so he decided to direct one. Mm-hmm. He was like, "No, these guys suck. I'm going to make my own, based on my own book." And he got a budget together of less than $1 million. He made this movie for less than $1 million, and for me, the practical effects are some of the best that I've seen for the time.
Yeah, considering that budget, the practical effects are done extremely well.
Especially the husband, as he's evolving and he's getting
Like when Frank is slowly... the different designs they have to do for him, because like I think when he first comes back, he's just basically like a pile of flesh and goo, and like that was done very, very well, I thought. Very effective.
But if you ever watched the trailer for Hellraiser, it did kind of portray that he's more of a slasher than what it actually is.
Yeah, that's probably like a marketing thing. They were like, this movie is so different and out there. in a good way, but it's like, how do we have to market this as a slasher, otherwise no one will go see it.
Yeah.
But
And that's the problem, is when the advertising campaign missells a movie and you go into a movie expecting something different than what you get. You could go see a great movie, but it's not what you expected.
That's
So-
what you guys said kind of happened with The Witch that we talked about a few months ago. Is they
Yeah.
marketed it like a paranormal like horror movie, and
Right.
it really wasn't.
And they did that to get butts in seats.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they need, and that's what matters at the end of the day. But
I thought it was kind of weird that I think her name was Margaret, who had sex with Frank when he was still in like his flesh.
Mm-hmm.
and when they filmed and wrote this, it's like there's no real protagonist in this story.
They
For a
tried,
while, you feel like it's the wife, and
Yeah.
then you feel like it's the daughter,
I think,
and then
yeah, because you kind of like I guess you sort of feel for the wife because she feels unhappy, but then as she starts killing these random people, you just like lose all sympathy for her, and then when she kills the husband, I was like rooting for her to die
Yeah.
at that point. And I think that's kind of the point where they switched it to the daughter being the protagonist.
Yeah.
I like how frustrated the husband was, even though he took it out of context whenever the guy was behind him. So he was like, no, don't kill him. And, like, I'm just sitting here
Oh.
thinking, like, okay, just turn around. Just notice, please. And, I mean, that was kind of suspenseful, like, when he pops out of the cabinet and you're like, oh, is he going to stab the husband or is that going to happen later? Because I know the husband's toast. I know that he's going to die and
Yeah.
for that other guy, but I didn't know when, and so it really surprised me when the husband didn't die in that scene, and I really like to be surprised in movies, so...
Yeah, there were a couple good jump scares I wasn't expecting. I think the one that I wrote down that got me, but it was towards the end. There was like a Jesus that fell out of the closet when she opened the door when she was trying to hide from Frank, or the daughter was trying to
Yeah.
hide. That was a good one. Like, I did not see that coming at all.
No.
Yeah, that was it jumped me. I was like that, like how I
Yeah.
audibly did that.
It was very effective.
Yeah, and the line that he says about, like, after it pops out was improv. I can't remember what the line was. Somebody in the comments will tell me, but it was an improv line. What else? Yeah, there was no protagonist, but I really liked the way the story flows. I felt at first I felt bad for the first guy, but then he turned out to be like almost like he was going to rape her anyways.
Yeah, it was.
And then you don't feel bad for him
Yeah,
after that.
exactly.
After he does the rapey thing, you're like, oh, whatever.
Well, he like doesn't he smack her just like Billy from Carrie and say, well, now you're changing, or do you want it or not, or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
It's basically exactly what Billy did in Carrie, but
Yeah.
I apparently I don't remember the plot, but I really did enjoy this movie despite not remembering. But I love the design of all the Cenobites, and I am fully into this universe, and I'm intending to watch all the other Hellraisers.
Yeah, there's like 12.
Yeah, it's a whole new series. I'm really into the lore of the Cenobites and
Yeah.
I want to learn more about them. That's the part that really got me interested in it. So
Yeah, what other S&M focused, like, horror weird stuff can you watch? Like, it's weird. It's pretty funny. I like it. So, the only monster I thought didn't look cool was the giant, like, bee looking thing. It was like a bee butterfly hybrid.
one of the Cenobites.
Well, I think it's technically a Cenobite, but it was like the one that chased her down the hallway.
What, like in the hospital?
Yeah. When the random crack in the wall opened
Yeah.
and she walks into it for some reason, and then she's like almost at the end of the hallway and you see this like giant
Yeah.
bee stinger scorpion. I don't know how to explain what it is because it's not anything that's grounded in reality, but you know what I'm saying. It's like the thing that goes down the hallway and it's like wiggling like this as it's going down, and I'm just like, this is kind of dumb. But the rest of them looked really cool.
Yeah, I in that but hospital scene specifically, that felt very Nightmare on Elm Street to me. Like I kept thinking that I was like, it felt like a dream sequence that would happen in a nightmare film because she was like when she woke up in the hospital, the doctors like I think they smacked her and they were acting like weird, like weirdly hostile towards her, and they locked her in the room. It felt like a dream sequence. From
Probably
Nightmare.
more like a Nightmare on Elm Street 3 type-ish.
Yeah.
where they're like already in the ward asylum ward and. But anything else?
Well, I did. So I think that Hellraiser himself, or I guess is that his name?
Pinhead is
Pinhead.
the main one.
Well, I think that that's a nickname that's the
It
nickname that
listed
one of
him-
the cast members gave him, but I don't know if that's like his actual
that's his
name.
I
given
think it's
name.
listed as Pinhead in the credits,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's his given name.
Okay.
but they never say the word Pinhead in the movie. So
Yeah.
it might have been somebody came up with it on the set, but he's definitely called Pinhead in the credits.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the design of Pinhead is good.
Yeah.
And it reminded me, like, the different creatures in that movie reminded me almost of Full Metal Alchemist. Like, it had, like,
Gluttony.
gluttony. There's no
Oh, yeah.
lust, but there's, like,
Well, the whole movie was lust.
True.
true. But there was no, like, physical manifestation of lust. But, yeah. It was a cool Pandora's Box concept, too. Like, I like almost everything about this movie. And I'll let you rate it first, but I got my rating in my head
Yeah,
right now.
I can't believe I don't remember much about the plot. Like, that blows my mind, but I loved this movie, I assure you. So, I think I can't give it higher than a 7 out of 10 because apparently the plot was pretty forgettable. But I loved the Cenobite characters so much, and I'm absolutely going to watch the Hellraiser 2 soon. So it's, like I said with Wishmaster, I really liked the universe that this movie set up, but I think this movie was good enough that I actually want to watch the sequels and learn more about the universe, which I can't really say for Wishmaster.
No.
It was a good movie, but I don't see myself watching the sequels at all. So I'll give, like I said, I will give this a 7 out of 10. It was an enjoyable movie. It was way different than I expected, and I think it was a very bold type of movie to do in the middle of the slasher craze, because it absolutely is not a slasher movie in the slightest.
Yeah, and so I'm going to say, for my rating, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I loved it that much. I told Tasha when the credits rolled, and this is going to be a surprise to her because I said a different rating. I thought I was going to give it a 7, but I've really stewed on this movie for a couple weeks before we recorded this podcast, and it's grown on me so much that I feel like the practical effects, keeping the budget in mind, it's about as good as it could have been, in my opinion. There's a few small things that bug me. I think that the pacing kind of fell off in between when she got out, and there's a couple like logical things, but like you can't just be too nitpicky sometimes. And I'm keeping my 9 out of 10. I think that it's about as good for me as it possibly can be. I really like the way that the movie is framed too. Like I love the cinematography. There's a lot of wide shots, a lot of like. It just does it for me. Few movies I watch and stew over as much as this, and like gives me inspiration to make like crappy short films that I make. And so I see that I'm not gonna make an S&M Hellraiser movie, but I see that, and I see like the way that they grade the film, do the shots, and for me it's very inspirational, and I see it, and I'm probably gonna say a 9, and then maybe. A year from now, I'll be like, I really should have given it an 8, but I'm going to say 9 now because I'm really hyped up on it.
I'm going to update my rating to 8 out of 10 based on your rating. Like, I only gave it a 7 out of 10 because I forgot a lot of plot points, but
Okay.
I did really enjoy the movie. So 8 out of 10 for Jake.
2 ratings from Jake before Tosh gets to speak.
That's me.
So, if I was rating upon my first, I would gave it a lot lower, but since I liked it better this time, I'm giving it a solid 6. Because the first time I didn't really like it at all. I had a hard time watching it, like getting through it, because I was bored with it, so I would stop it and then resume it, and it took me like forever to finish it. But
Okay.
I enjoyed it better this time. I did wish that they spent more on like Pinhead in them than the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I want to learn more about their characters, but yeah.
Yeah, that's surprising because when the credits rolled, I thought you were going to give it a 5, so you must have felt the same way as me, where it gets kind of better as you think about it with age.
So when did you watch this the first time? Was it somewhat recently? Or
No, this was like a couple years back when I first watched it.
She probably would have given it like a 3 then. She's always told
Yeah.
me, like, let's not watch Hellraiser. I hate it.
Yeah, I've always had an issue trying to get through it. So what does Joshua say?
Josh gave Hellraiser a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
He said he liked the vivid gore and the details and the effects for the time, and I guess for the budget as well. I think we all kind of agree that the effects were very good in this movie. He said he liked the scene containing all of the bloody body parts nailed to the revolving columns, which I think was at the beginning. That's kind of, like, I think that's the Cenobite realm that Frank escapes from.
That's why I think it would make a cool house, though. Because if you just
Yeah.
mostly focused on that type of stuff, that would be good.
Yeah, and he and last point, he also says he really enjoyed the transformation of Frank, how he kind of slowly forms back into a human.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Different practical effects designed for each
Yep.
stage. So, yeah.
So yeah, Josh seemed to enjoy this one pretty high as well.
All right, Mike, you're up.
So I recommended Us. It's Jordan Peele's latest movie. I really liked Get Out, but I liked Us even a lot better. Get Out was probably for me like a 6 out of 10, a little bit better than your average horror movie, but nothing special. But I'll do the synopsis for this one. But since we're never gonna probably watch Us, I just wanted to do that really quick. So this movie. I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it because right now we're all talking spoilers throughout the whole thing, but it's one of those movies that I hope that you're able to experience before you listen to this podcast and get spoiled. So I gave you a second to pause it. I'm about to spoil it. So the plot of the movie is this little girl goes into this haunted house. She sneaks away. She goes into this haunted house at the beginning of the movie, and it turns out that she switches places with another little girl that looks exactly like her, that lives underground. So, what she did was she grabbed her inside the House of Mirrors, she took her down the escalator, she chained her to the bed, and then she went, and took her place and took her life and then made the other one into the reverse one. So she kind of switched places with her. Now, the movie, as it unfolds, implies that it was just a traumatic experience. But, if you're paying attention and you're reasonably good at figuring out plot points, you pretty much figure out pretty quickly that they were reversed, in my opinion. But as you go through, and as the story unwinds, you discover that because she was once a normal person and she understands the normal world, and she saw a commercial of people holding hands throughout the world in protest, she decides, I'm going to assemble the underground people, we're going to take over, and we're going to all hold hands and sort of just like dominate the world. So we're going to get all these scissors and we're going to go kill our body doubles, and that's the plot. So they somehow break free of their almost spell of mirroring. And it's not one of those movies that you look at completely 100% logically, because if you do, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it's one of those, like, it's almost like an idea candy. You take the candy and you eat it, and you don't really think about how, like, the candy was made. You just enjoy the flavor of the candy. And then you also, like, this is the type of movie where, and I'm kind of going into my review post synopsis, but let me finish the synopsis first. So the family comes from, the Reflection family comes from the other family, and wants to kill them, but instead of going right to killing them like all the other body doubles, since they're the main characters, they have to, like, do this pre-planned sequence of, like, justice events before they kill them. So they want to kind of make them suffer and stuff, which, the little girl has some pretty horrible like backstory of, like, having the child by herself, like, without getting a C-section like the other one got, and, like, whew, a lot of, like, horrible, gruesome stuff. But they go from their house to the other house. God, it's like, it's really hard plot to finish explaining.
Well,
they go from their house to the other
They
house.
kill the white family's doppelgangers.
Yeah, they kill the white family doppelgangers, which were an annoying family anyway, so you don't really care about them. Yeah. And then they move from that, they get in the car, and they drive over to the beach for some reason that they found them at. That they found
I think they were just trying to, like, get to Mexico or get out of that area.
Yeah.
And they just happen to drive by the beach.
Yeah, so they go there, and then the kid backs up in order to make the reflection kid like back into the fire, and then as he's doing that, he gets snatched up by the reflection wife, and so the reflection wife takes him down into the area that the reflection people live, the shadow people, the tethered, where the tethered live. Takes him down, and then the original tethered wife goes down to get him, and then they have their sort of final battle down there.
Which is like a dance battle kind of thing.
Like a ballet type of situation.
It's like a waltz, like, because the score of the movie is like a waltz almost. So it's very, especially Red, the tethered woman. She's very much like, very like exact and methodical in her movements.
Yeah. So then, the tethered one wins. The one that we've been following as the protagonist since the end of the first sequence. She wins, but the kid kind of knows what happened because of when she killed her and she smiled and she made like the tethered noise, and
like
then
the animal grunt noise.
The animal grunt noise, yeah, and then so he knows that something's wrong with his mom, and he's kind of afraid of his mom because he like slides the mask on in the end and stuff, but. That's pretty much a synopsis of it. That was the longest it's ever taken for any of us to summarize the movie, but there's a lot of moving parts.
You were giving your review sort of as you were synopsizing.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's hard to not do that with this movie though, because you have to, instead of just explaining, oh, this happened and then this happened, you have to give the context, or the synopsis makes no sense.
Right.
But anyways, so. I've been talking for a long time, so I'm going to let you guys talk about it, and then I'll come back to it. So what did you think, Tasha?
Honestly, I can't stand this movie.
Okay, why do you hate it?
I'm just not big on I like the twist at the end. That's good, but it's just like seeing people in red killing people with scissors. It just kind of bores me, honestly.
You didn't like the taste of the candy?
No.
Well, it's like from a traditional horror villain standpoint, if you're thinking about it like a slasher, like an iconic villain, the tethered, the red people with the gold scissors is pretty lame, in my opinion, as a villain.
Yeah.
But with Mike's candy analogy, I really enjoyed the flavor, and there were a lot of little pieces. There were a lot of little details on the candy that made it taste extra sweet for me.
And I'm just not big on Jordan Peele's style movies. I didn't really like Get Out either. So, I went in with an open mind, hoping to like this one, but I still didn't really care for it.
Is it like the comedy aspect of it you don't like, or is it just like you don't like his plotting and like
his plotting
okay.
mainly? It's not really the comedy.
I don't think Tasha can ever latch on and say, like, I like this character in any of his movies either.
Okay.
Because there's never, like, a sort of goth chick that she can just be like, that's my person.
I don't pull for the goth chicks anyways,
I
but
know.
still.
I was just kidding. But, yeah, there's no person that she can be like, that's my person or anything. So
yeah.
she's not relating to anything she's watching.
Yeah, I think, like Mike said in the beginning, there's a lot of plot holes in this movie that if you focus on that, you're not going to like it. Like, just the idea that every person in America has a double, and that there's a underground sort of mirror world that spans the entire U.S. and potentially the world, exists, and we don't know about it, is a little bit like, that's kind of like something a middle schooler would write.
Yeah.
It's not a logical plot.
Yeah.
And just the fact, like, how did these people that can only do what the people above ground are doing, how did they sew all of these red jumpsuits exactly the same and get all of the same millions of gold scissors? So, like, if you look at it in that aspect, it's kind of a sloppy movie, but
you don't, though. That's really not the way that you view it naturally when you're viewing it.
For me, I loved the details of the idea of, like, mirroring and doubles. Was just, there were so many, like the Jeremiah 11:11, the guy on the pier, so it's like 11 and 11, it's mirror. And then, like, obviously she goes into the Hall of Mirrors and gets, like, switched when she's a girl. And then just like as they're walking on the beach, there's a shot where it shows the family and their shadows like connecting to them, so mirroring there, and then the frisbee that lands on the beach towel, it's like a red circle on top of a blue circle. So it's like I enjoyed those type of details because it and that's stuff that you don't notice the first time, but as you rewatch this movie, you appreciate, at least I appreciate that stuff more and more every time I watch it.
Yeah, and so as far as the small details in that movie not making sense, the only one that actually bothered me that I was thinking about, that I was trying to figure out a mental explanation for, was the fact that the little girl that got dragged down there just sort of never ran up the escalator and left the
Wasn't
building.
she chained to the bed when at first when
Right,
she woke
at first,
up?
but she obviously got out of there.
Yeah.
So then, why did she just become a tethered? Like, why didn't she go back up? I didn't understand that, and so I was thinking, like, just run up the down escalator and then just leave. And
Because
so,
the escalator wasn't really hidden. It was just you go to the end of the hallway around the corner and there's an escalator.
yeah, right. So I'm just thinking that, and so that's the only. Like the whole the sewing of the costumes and the scissors and all that, like, that makes sense as a criticism, but that's not something that was in the forefront of my mind when I'm watching. I'm able to just suspend disbelief and enjoy the ride, but that is something, even when I'm in that mood and I'm trying to give it that leeway, it's that's the one thing that still bothered me, even on top of that leeway blanket that I had, was the whole why not just escape? Like, is there a force field? Like, is there something like that actually forces them to be a tethered? Like, why did she become a tethered? But anyways, there's really not going to be any explanation for that. It's just like one of those things. And there, after this movie came out, some people were trying to say that their theory was that the little boy got switched too, like her son.
Yeah, I could.
The previous summer, because he was changed, and then he said something that.
When he goes towards the Vision Quest booth on the beach. The sun.
Not at that moment, because not then, but the previous year that you didn't even see, because they keep talking about the previous year, and I think Jordan Peele might be just putting little nuggets in there for people to come up with theories with, because it's a very movie that you would definitely want to watch theory videos on and have fun with.
Watch more than once.
Yeah, and watch more than once. And so he put little nuggets in there the kid says a curse word that he hasn't, and he's acting different than he was the previous year. But at the same time, the other kid was like an animal. So I don't feel like he would become from a regular kid to an animal in 1 year. So the theory doesn't hold water to me, but it was interesting to watch.
The way he was looking at the mom at the very end when they were driving kind of made you think he was also got turned.
Yeah, because maybe he knows that she is a tethered because he is also a tethered, kind of thing.
Could be, but I don't think so. But that's an interesting little theory.
Well, maybe when the sequel called Them comes out, we'll figure it out.
I'm interested to hear, though, did you guys think it was obvious that she was switched? Because I know Tasha didn't figure it out, but did you figure it out?
No, I didn't think that. I'm not usually good at predicting twists before they happen. I'm more of just when I'm watching a movie, I'm more in the moment, and I'm just letting the movie tell me what's happening. I'm not thinking ahead to oh, this is gonna become this later. This is that's not.
That's
really...
how I am, and that's why sometimes I don't like them type of movies, because I don't catch on, or
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, going back to Jordan Peele's style, obviously he comes from a comedy background like Mad TV and Key and Peele and that type of stuff. I thought there wasn't as much humor in this movie as Get Out, but I thought when there was humor, it was so much more effective. I think obviously the best joke in the movie is when the White family is being murdered, and then the mom's crawling on the floor and says, "Alexa, call the police," and then it starts playing "Fuck the Police."
Yeah,
I
love
laughed out loud, and I still laugh every time I watch that part. I thought that was a very good use of humor to kind of because it's a pretty intense scene in that you're kind of wondering what's going to happen, and then he just kind of is like, "Fuck you, I'm going to put this joke right here," to kind of as like a levity in the middle of the scene.
Yeah.
But my only other thing that I didn't really like about the movie is, because I think I talked about my theater going experience, how there was a promposal like right at the climax of the movie, and they stopped the movie for a few minutes and then went back into it. But also, when I was watching it, everyone in the theater was laughing every time any of the tethered talked or like made their animal noises. Like, they were laughing. And watching it, that kind of took me out of it the first time I watched it. But watching it again, I kind of agree with them that when the tethered are making their like animal grunts,
Yeah.
The sound is funny, but I get why he did it that way. It's because like these are people that never learned how to speak, so that's the only way they can communicate. So I get why he did it that way, but it still is. It's funny to hear that sound. So, but again, I don't know how else he would have done it.
I've heard a lot of people criticize the way she sounds as the tethered one, where she's like, yes, yes. But when I first saw it, I thought that was pretty scary. Like, I liked it. I thought it was a good, like, reveal of the other family. I love the shot where the family's, like, standing at the edge of the driveway.
Yeah.
And they're standing together, just standing there menacingly.
Yeah, that's a pretty iconic shot in the haunted house as well.
Yeah, that was a cool part of the haunted house. And really quickly, but the haunted house was really well casted.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, but anyways. Man, I feel like inside I have so much to say about this movie, but, like, I don't know how to say it. Like, okay, I just really like the small details. Like, I really like that, that he was talking about how he had a boat, and he was super proud that he had a boat, and doing, like, the donuts, and, like, had to hit it and all that stuff. But then he went over to the other guy's house later on, and he had, like, a better boat, and he was like, he just bought that boat to piss me off.
It was very
And that was a payoff of, like, something that happened earlier. It was set up and payoff.
It was like a keeping up with the Joneses type thing. Like, maybe it was Jordan Peele commenting on, like, being a black family in America, because you're always trying to keep up with, like, just the white status quo, or just the status quo in general. Yeah, I thought that also added, like, some kind of humor to his character as well.
In an interview, he said that he couldn't think of any scene in any movie where, like, you know, a black person, like, owned a boat. Yeah. So, like, I saw him say that on a YouTube interview, so that's why I decided to put that in the movie and make it such a big deal. And so I thought that was cool. I was like, it was, I don't know, it was funny to have. And also the boat ended up, like, shredding the dude, which was a cool kill.
Guy. Yeah. I thought the kills of all the family was cool, and I thought the suspense was pretty good when the tethered first got into the house.
Yeah.
And like the daughter was running through the woods.
Yeah.
And the other tethered daughter was chasing her. And I thought, for me, the most kind of shocking part was when the white family was killed by their tethered. I did not see that coming at all, because it literally just, it's like the guy turns around and then in 1 second the whole family is just stabbed.
Yeah.
And it's done.
I really love how in this one, your thing reminded me of this, but, like, I really love how they call the police immediately. So, but they never come because the whole world is, like, experiencing that.
It's
and
like
police can't get
it's the
to
logic thing in the horror movies. It's like, why don't they call the police? And it's like, they did.
Yeah, and he was even thinking, like, okay, you're calling a little too early. And then he was happy that she had, and that they were already, like, 3 to 5 minutes, like, closer than they would have been. So, like, he was like, don't call the police. I got this, you know. And she did it anyways. And then, you know, he tried to get this, and he was like, call the police. And he's like, they're already on their way. And he went outside, and he's like, the police are already on their way.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. You won't get crazy, we can get crazy.
Yeah.
The dad was pretty funny.
Yeah, he, like, changed his personality to try to intimidate them like that, even though he was just, like, a regular
guy.
A
Like a regular
Joe.
nerdy dad.
Yeah, like a nerdy dad. That's what I meant by regular. But he was a nerdy dad, and yeah. All the people I hang out with are nerdy, so then I think that's regular.
Yeah, I liked Us the first time. I've only seen it twice. I liked it the first time in the theater, but I didn't have a great experience. So this time watching it again, I enjoyed it a lot more because I picked up on because knowing the twist going into the second time, I could see a lot of details. Like I think there were when it shows the doctor's off or the psychiatrist's office when they're trying to figure out why the Adelaide won't talk anymore, and the mother just goes like, "I want my daughter back," and it's like, if you think about it, like, okay, you realize that the real daughter's been gone, so she wants the daughter back,
Yeah.
and then like later on when the Adelaide and the husband are sitting on the bed, and that was another funny joke when he's like laying on the bed trying to look sexy when Adelaide turns around. That
was funny.
But like Adelaide turns around and says, "I don't feel like myself," and he goes, "You look like yourself," like because obviously she's not the real Adelaide. I picked up on so much more detail like that this time that made me appreciate. Because that was obviously intentional, and I appreciated that he put so many little things throughout the movie like that.
Yeah, I feel like that she should have been a little bit more pushy about not wanting to go back to the beach on my second watch, because like if that had happened and you were from there and you're literally like 50 feet from it, you seem like you'd want to do anything to get away from.
She might have been
that.
repressing it, like maybe like you know how
like trying to forget that she was the tethered.
Yeah, and she maybe that's why she's like, I know that something went down there, but she doesn't exactly remember what it was. I don't know.
Yeah, the white family in that movie were so annoying though. Like when she was trying to talk to her at the beach, saying like, "Oh, you don't need plastic surgery though, but I got some." Like it was just, she was the worst.
Well, and then like Adelaide was like, I really just don't feel like I don't like talking to people, and the white woman's like, I totally get it. Like, no, you don't.
Yeah, totally get that. And then she just keeps talking.
Yeah, but you've been pretty quiet, Tasha. Do you have anything else to say about it, or
No,
let's
really.
fight. You
Not
know,
a fight over it.
you have a difference in opinion.
I just don't
Conflict
really
time.
care for the movie or that style, so it's fine.
You didn't like the fuck the police thing?
No.
You didn't like? Did you like when it revealed that the little girl like took the other little girl? Because I thought that was like the biggest scare factor scene for me was when it revealed the real scene of the little girl going in there, and then she turned around and she gave her like that really creepy smile and then grabbed her by the neck.
I mean, that was cool, but I mean, I wouldn't say it was scare factor for me.
Yeah, well, you're not scared about anything in movies, but except for home invasion. But see, that's why I thought you might like this movie.
There was a home invasion, sort of, with
Kinda.
But it was too
with
supernatural for her, I think. I think she likes like home.
It has
doesn't
to be
like
more
home.
like a realism.
like The Strangers or one of those.
Yes.
She honestly, the most scared I've ever seen her be is the intro scene from the first Annabelle movie. Even though it's a shitty movie, the short film almost that happens at the beginning, that really did it for Tasha. When she saw that woman get stabbed in her pregnant belly, she was wanting to keep the lights on for a while after that.
Well, it's scary because it could really happen.
Exactly.
That's why when people are
she was thinking about having a baby at the time, or we were together.
That's why when people are like super scared of demon clowns or like Freddy Krueger, I'm like, that can't really happen. Like, why aren't you scared of like being murdered in your sleep?
See, that's me. I'm not scared when I watch movies about real things, and I'm not even like I'm a material person. I don't really believe in like ghosts and like demons and the supernatural. But those are the movies that scare me the most. I don't know why, even though I don't believe those are the ones that scare me the most.
Well, yeah, I want to go ahead and do ratings, and then we could talk about the haunted house.
Yeah.
Sure.
Since I recommended this one, I'll rate it first. So, I really like this one. I don't think I like it as good as Hellraiser, so it's not going to be a 9. But I think for how much I've thought about it, and we'll probably rewatch it over the course of my life. I know I've rated everything so highly this time, but I don't care. I'm not going to give this one a lower one because of that. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 and say, like, if I'm enticed enough by a plot to still be looking up theory videos, like 6 months after I watch the movie, that's a good sign. And I think that I will continuously watch this movie at least once a year, maybe for the rest of my life, but like at least once a year, I would say. So yeah, I will, maybe not for the rest of my life, but like for a while, I'll watch it
until his next movie comes out, if it's better.
Yeah.
if it's better. I think it might end up being his magnum opus though. and it might end up being his best movie. But we'll see what his next one. I will certainly pay and go see his next movie
I
in
think,
theaters by myself without Tasha because she doesn't go.
You go ahead and do your review, Tosh, and then I have a point I want to make.
Okay, I know this one's strictly low, and I'm not being biased or anything, but I'm gonna give it a 4.
Oh, really? I expected lower. That's pretty good.
I just don't really like the style of movie, and I'm not going to rate it high just because it's your recommendation or anything. So
Okay.
Yeah, well, the point I was going to make a second ago was that I think the critical reception of Us was way lower than Get Out. Like, the general public didn't like Us as much as Get Out, and that's just crazy to me. I thought Get Out was so... yes, Get Out made more sense from a plotting standpoint, like, logically, but it was such a stereotypical, like... that movie, I knew exactly what was going to happen the entire time.
If you don't like Get Out, that means you're racist.
If you don't like Get Out, you can
get out. That's why everybody gives it a 10 out of 10. Because it's like if you don't like that movie, you're racist.
Well, then why don't they give us the same thing? It's like
because it's not as much of a commentary on race. I think as Get Out.
That's true.
And critics love that stuff. Like they'll take a great movie. And they'll make it like the best movie of the year if it's like a critique on race. If it's like, 12 Years a Slave or something. Like, it's a great movie, but I don't think it's like movie of the year quality, personally.
Yeah.
What did Josh say?
Right. I haven't given my rating yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I think, fist
Pound
bump.
it. Yeah, fist bump.
Like I said, I enjoyed it the first time, but I enjoyed it way more the second time just for the little details. The only reason I wouldn't give it a higher rating is because of the large plot holes that you kind of have to ignore to enjoy the movie. So
right.
It's not a perfect movie, but I feel like it's a very above average, very good psychological horror movie.
Yeah. And it's better than movies that I've given a 7 in the past, so I have to give it an 8.
Yeah. And I like it more than Hellraiser, and I can remember the plot of Us a lot easier than Hellraiser.
Oh, you like Us more than Hellraiser?
No, I like it equally as Hell. I gave both an 8.
Yeah. Well, I figure you can have 2 8s and still like one a little bit better than the other one, though.
All right, so what do you predict Josh said about this movie? Do you think he loved it or hated it?
I think that Josh gave it a 7 out of 10, and that he loved it or liked it, not loved it.
I'm gonna say 6 out of 10 and liked it.
All right, Josh gave Us a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
He apparently loved it more than all of us.
Okay.
He said it was an awesome plot and an original idea, because we didn't really talk about the idea of like the horror of the doppelgangers. It's like just the thought of that if somebody that looked exactly like you came to your door, that's pretty scary.
Yeah. I like the doppelgangers, yeah.
And Josh said he liked Jordan Peele's style of the suspense and kind of the mood of the overall movie. And he said he had a heightened level of like suspense kind of throughout because it was paced pretty well. And he liked the subtle comedy kind of to break it up and the twist at the end.
Okay.
And he said he saw interesting parallels with other themes on society and social class. I don't know specifically.
He's probably talking about the boat.
Well, that reminds me of one thing I did not get at all, and I still don't get, is when the tethered first come into the house and somebody in the family says, "Who are you?" and Red goes, "We're Americans."
I hated that line.
I'm like, what does that mean? Does that
what? I forgot to criticize that. So that's a really it's basically explaining the theme to the audience in case they're not smart enough to understand. So they're basically saying they're critiquing American culture and saying this is the other stuff. So it's very much so a obvious thing. They wanted to make it less subtle. And so when she said that's the only line in the movie that really I'm just no, please.
Well, that line didn't make it clear for me. It confused me. I was like, are you trying to say that the tethered are second, a metaphor for second class citizens in America that are kind of maybe the homeless or immigrants or people that are just kind of pushed to the wayside and not given the same opportunities?
That I was
Okay.
about to say that. Yeah.
Is that
that's what it is. It's
Okay.
being really tongue in cheek about that, and I don't know.
So yeah,
I'm not a
that's
fan
the
of
only
that
that's the
line.
only line I was that confused me more, but that makes sense sort of.
I wish you would have just been like, "We are the tethered" or something,
Yeah.
and then you could draw the analogy yourself as to what the tethered are, instead of just being like, "Oh, "Let's spell it out for you." But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are Americans.
That was a good discussion. Yeah. I think
Want to go ahead and do
The one I recommend is always the best talk. You know, that's the way it goes.
closing words, and then we can do recommendations.
One thing I forgot to mention on the closing words, I really like the scene where the little girl is like had run from her and around the car, and so like you have the suspense thing where she's like. She sees her from across the window, and one of them's like
And
she's
she
smiling at her
disappears.
maniacally, even though it's the same actress. So she's doing good with both roles. She's smiling at her maniacally, and then she hides under the car for some reason.
yeah.
And then she gets out and she looks above the car and she's above her and stuff. That whole sequence, I was suspenseful, and then I love the comedic thing at the end where the guy comes out and is like, "Get off my car!"
And then she just kills him immediately.
Yeah, I love that. And then she just like makes her way towards him. That was a pet peeve though, in a lot of different movies where like if the killer's walking really slow and the person's sprinting from them, but the killer's like keeping up with them.
They
Every time
somehow
it
catch
cut-
up to them.
it cuts, but then she's actually just sprinting. Like she's like she got her shoes tied real tight. She's like, "I'm a sprinter too. Let's go!" And so they're both like running super fast, and so I'm good with it.
Do you have any more closing words? Y'all want to go ahead and do recommendations?
Yeah.
Real quick. Who wants to start?
So this is the Halloween episode next month. So we're gonna try to resurrect Josh from the grave. We got our Ouija board ready. We've been talking to him and getting his reviews for the movies this week. But we're gonna resurrect him from the grave for the Halloween special. I'm gonna recommend Trick or Treat because it is my favorite movie of all time, and it's certainly my favorite horror movie and Halloween movie.
Josh is going to recommend Boys in the Trees.
Another good one.
And then I'm going to recommend Halloween 3 Seasons of the Witch.
And I was gonna recommend Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, but Tosh and I have such a similar style that I had to come up with something else. So it's not directly Halloween themed, but it's Pumpkinhead. So the monster is like a pumpkin demon, so that's pretty Halloweeny, I think, still.
Okay. Yeah, but I felt all four movies this time were pretty solid. I didn't really have any that I would rate like 5 or less. So definitely better than our slow week where I recommended Suspiria, and we had like really slow movies,
Yeah,
and I hated all of them.
Well, that week we all liked one movie, but we hated all the others, I feel like. So that was
Yeah.
not the best discussion, but yeah, I feel like this month and last month we were pretty,
Pretty solid.
yeah.
Yeah, it's because Josh isn't here.
I'm getting better at taking shots in the dark, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I've seen a couple offshoot horror things because it's getting close to Halloween. So I watched Stranger Things season 3. Let's see what else. House of a Thousand Corpses for horror nights.
And I went to see Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which
I haven't seen that.
I really enjoyed. It's not like a extremely scary movie. It's more of like a PG-13 introduction to horror.
Yeah.
But I think Guillermo del Toro, I don't know if he directed it, but he was involved in it. So it was a beautiful movie, and it was a very, very well done.
It sounds like it's something I would like.
Visually, it's great. It's set in like the 50s or 60s, so just like stylistically, it's a very, very cool look.
Nice. We're going to see It Chapter 2 tomorrow, so we don't
Yep.
have any impressions on that.
But-
But can I just sneak in really quick that Season 3 of Stranger Things I thought was the best season because I didn't really like Season 1 and 2. I'm just still watching because of Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, I definitely agree that season 3 was far and above the best season, like no contest.
For me, as well.
And which apparently I've learned that the YouTube pretentious commenters and people that do review videos disagree completely. Season 1 is apparently the most perfect piece of TV ever written, and it's shot. And I thought it was pretty boring and lackluster.
Yeah, I think the reason I didn't like 1 and 2 is because I don't like most of the characters in the show, especially the ones that aren't the kids. I really didn't like Nancy. I liked Barb, but they killed her, and so then I just hated Nancy. It's like, oh, you're just going to abandon your friend, you're going to go upstairs with Steve, even though you said you wouldn't, you're going to go back on your word, and then she's going to die as a direct result. And I still haven't, it's season 3, I still haven't forgiven her for that. And she didn't really feel that bad about it.
They didn't mention Barb at all. Or no, I think they did at the very end when they were kind of trying to explain what happened in Hawkins and like blame it on Dungeons and Dragons and shit.
Yeah.
I think they mentioned Barb.
I know they mentioned her in season 2.
Yeah. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that they just killed Barb and was like, nobody cares about Barb. I'm like, I care about Barb.
I agree that I didn't. I thought season 1 was okay, but I guess maybe it was just me getting an idea for what the show was. I thought it was going to be a legit horror show.
Yeah.
And then it was, I think season 1, I haven't rewatched it, so maybe I would like it more if I watched it a second time. But for me, it was just, I wasn't sure about the tone of the show. And I also think season 2 did have some issues. It was a little slow, and there wasn't as much iconic like imagery or stories in it. But season 3, I think they figured out exactly what the show is, because it was...
Yeah, and everybody disagrees with us, so here comes the dislikes on this video.
Well, it was just, I thought they found out how to do the humor, like when to do the humor.
Yeah.
And there were so many references, like the Halloween chase scene was like kind of a reference to Halloween 2. So it was, they used the references to like 80s pop culture and horror a lot better. And the plot was just so much more, it was like an action movie.
Yeah,
it was.
At least it was trying to do something.
Yeah,
I thought I liked the cheese of the whole Russian subplot.
Because that was like was like a Red Dawn '80s cliche,
right?
Type
and
thing.
So that fit. And then I have 2 minor criticisms for this season. One, I don't think that the subplot with Mrs. White was it
Wheeler.
Yeah, Mrs. Wheeler and Billy. That it was kind of a waste of screen time, and then I felt like the seasons ramped up kind of slowly. I think it ramped up kind of slowly, and then what else was it? Oh yeah, the invasion of the Body Snatchers subplot didn't really go anywhere for me. It's like you had that, and you had the Russians, and I was like, just decide what you want to do. You don't have to have both of these plots, and I don't understand. I guess maybe it might take into effect next season, but I don't understand what the Body Snatcher plot was really trying to say or do. Like what
I think
that sort of played into.
Yeah, I feel like that was literally, they were just like, because that was the most horror-centric part of the season. I feel like maybe there was a criticism like the show isn't horror enough or something like, because the body horror of like the people being kind of overtaken by the Mind Flayer's powers, and then like I think they go to the dungeon and literally just turn into goo, like melt, and then so maybe that was just, we need to put some horror in here and give Billy some type of arc and something to do.
Because we gotta have Billy in here. One last thing, I'm gonna be really, and I know this is gonna be the case because he's a fan favorite, but I really think it takes away from the season that they pretty much, say that Hopper's gonna be fine in the end. Because 1, I don't like Hopper, so I was happy about it. But then 2, it's like you have this emotional payoff from the season, but then you're like, we're not gonna actually do that.
Yeah, it's they should have made it very unclear whether Hopper was still alive. There was basically like they winked at you and they got right in your face and winked at you and said, he's dead, maybe.
Whenever you don't see a character explode at the end, like when there's an explosion, then they're always alive. That's like movie logic, movie rules. Not only that, but also like, and this is something that Jake and I discussed. I think that they're going to go back on Jesse, and I hope they don't, but I think that they will.
Jesse? Robin?
Robin, I'm sorry. I don't know why I said Jesse. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not good with names, guys. I'm sorry. I think they're going to go back on Robin, and I think they're going to say, oh, she's not a lesbian. She just said that because she was shy around him because of the whole way it was shot, and I've watched it twice now, and I feel like that's what they're gonna do, but I hope that they keep it the way it is. But I'm just putting this out there, so if that ends up happening, you heard it here first. We're gonna pull the old Uno reverse card.
Change the Sue to that lesbian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
So there's a separate discussion for Stranger Things.
yeah, I don't know if we're in the Horror Nights discussion yet or not, but I'm gonna just go ahead and do my shameless plug right now. Since we're going to see It Chapter 2 tomorrow, I just had a new shirt come out, sort of based on It Chapter 2. It's called We All Float On Down Here. It's kind of a hybrid mashup of It and that Modest Mouse song that everyone's heard a million times, Float On. So it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek satirical take on that. And there's a couple different styles of that as well. One's way more like subtle. One's more It and one's more Modest Mouse. Whatever your taste is there. So again, you can get any of that at jakensteinapparel.com or follow me on Instagram at jakensteinapparel to learn about what other shit I got coming.
It's got the Pennywine logo on it.
Yes, it has the Pennywine logo on it because I'm lazy and I didn't want to draw another Pennywise face.
We're getting all the royalties from those shirts.
Yep, the ad revenue has gone way up because of We're Good, and it's all going into my shirt design.